Hello, hello, welcome, welcome. I'm Elizé. I wish my name was Elizé. I'm your host for today. Today we have Fergie, who's going to be working on a book club mobile app, which I'm excited about because we chatted about this last week. She's actually going to be building this app. So I'm excited to see and hear more about her process. Hello, everyone in the chat. We got Cody and we have Jack and we've got Laura and Lee. Good to see you guys. Welcome. If you're live, or welcome if you are watching the replay. If you missed the previous stream, you're going to want to watch that. We have digital artist Anna Perez-Brack, who's going to be drawing who drew a boxing still life using Photoshop. So you can watch that replay on Behance or on YouTube. Okay, I want to bring in our guests. We got Fergie in the house. I'm excited to hear more about who you are because I saw you putting up your presentation. It's very colorful. It's very fun. So I want to learn more about what you do, who you are, and what you're going to be designing with us over the next few days.
Oh, shucks. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. So for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Fergie. I'm a UX designer and I'm based out of London. And what we're going to be working on is something very close to my heart and to a few people in the chat too. So I actually run a weekly UX book club. We have a Discord server where we all hang out and chat, and we listen to the audio chapters week by week, and we have discussions, a conversation about it. And just generally have a great old time. So a few people have previously mentioned it would be amazing to have an app or a website or something for the book clubbers to keep track of everything, because we kind of have Discord and then we have recordings somewhere else so they can catch up. And we have a few things kind of disjointed, right? So I thought, you know what, great opportunity. Let's do this on Adobe Live. Why not? So that's what we'll work on. And a little bit about me. Like I said, I'm a UX designer. I'm based in London, and I work mostly in the kind of tech sector with a lot of big clients, bringing their visions to life, building their products, all that good stuff. And of course, I have a great presentation here, all made in XD because it is so good for everything. And if you've not heard of Adobe Max, where have you been? Really excited that I'm going to be there in person this year. So feel free to join me if you're going to be there.
That's exciting. I don't even know if I'm going this year. So hopefully, hello out there, get me a ticket, guys.
Universe, bring the tickets this way.
Universe, bring it over.
Yeah, and I do all sorts. I mean, I have a little 1-minute video. You don't really have to watch it. If you're interested in my work and want to see stuff I get up to, this is a lot of my passion projects. Check out my Behance. I put everything up there basically. But I live pretty much in XD. XD is my one true love. It is where I create all of my ideas. It is where I drew a floor plan to fit the furniture in my space that you see me in. You can really do anything with it if you put your mind to it. So if you haven't used XD before, give it a go. It's a great tool. It's really low learning curve. It's not difficult. And after a day, you'll be a whiz. You'll just be creating whatever you can think of. So
I love all those designs. Yeah, it's beautiful. And I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm interested to know more. Maybe this will be another stream where you talk about how you design your floor plan and your interior design through XD. I haven't heard that one yet. So I'm all ears.
I'm an oddball, I like what I like. I don't know how to do the 3D software stuff. So it's well, I'm just going to work with what I'm comfortable with.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we're going to work on this UX book club app. So if anybody wants to join, we can put the Discord link in the chat. Come on in. We are a super friendly bunch of people from all over the globe, which is actually really exciting. So we all share our views and opinions and have some pretty great chats every week. And to give you an insight on what we're going to be going through in the next couple of days, because we're here today and tomorrow. Today, what we'll work on is gathering inspiration. So I've already kind of done this a little bit offline before the show. I went to the book clubbers and I said, hey, we're going to design an app. What do you want the app to do? What would be some cool features that you'd be interested in that would help you participate in the club more? So I've got some really great ideas to get us started with. And from that, what we'll do is kind of create like a ideas board of features and functionality. We'll create a bit of an app map so we can see how is the user navigating around the app? What is the structure of it going to be? How many different kind of screens in that are we going to have to plan for? And we'll start to wireframe. Then tomorrow, depending on where we leave it off today, we'll continue wireframing. And then what we'll do is apply some branding and apply that kind of UI layer to our designs and prototype it all together. And I'll actually be sending this prototype link through the share functionality to everybody in book club so I can get their feedback and comments. And then what
exciting.
I'll do. Yeah.
Do you have a link to your book club as well? We have that link.
Yes.
Okay,
I think
great.
I shared that.
Perfect.
So
we'll put that in the chat for you guys.
More the merrier.
Mm-hmm.
And as we go through, I do use quite a number of plugins. So if anybody is interested or wants to ask about if there's any kind of plugin that maybe I know about that could help you, let me know in the chat. Let me know what you're looking for and do my best to show you anything that I know about. Yeah.
What a fun design. I love that it's so colorful and friendly. And yeah, I'm just really excited that you're going to build this. And so, everyone gets to see something actually go from inception to design and then what your process is afterwards. And I think that's always like the missing piece for a lot of designers. So I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, I definitely share more about that tomorrow. I won't give away all the secrets just yet. You got to come back and find out.
Tease them.
Yeah, I'm going to show you how you can build an app, a native mobile app from your XD design with no code or whatsoever. It is one of my favorite tools. And if you know me, you know what it is. Shh, don't tell anyone yet. Tell them tomorrow. So that's what we're going to be getting up to for the next couple of days.
That sounds fantastic. This sounds like a lot too. So I'm like, yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, got a lot of ground to cover. So we're gonna run, but hopefully not too fast. So just wanted to show everyone, like I posted a message out to our book club asking them what would they like to have, kind of hinted, hey, it's a small user research question, just to kind of pique folks' interest. And they got back to me with some pretty cool things, actually. Things like having a library to sort the book collection, to tag the books, based on topic or subject. Things like having summaries of the books or of the chapters, easily accessing the recordings that we create so that if you miss a session, you can listen back and catch up. You're not sort of behind and having to read by yourself again, because we found that doesn't really work. If everybody is left to read a chapter a week, no, who has time for that, right? You don't fit it in, which is why we read as a group. It works a lot better for us.
Oh, so you read as a group, like you all together.
Yeah.
Who reads aloud?
Oh, so we actually use Audible. So we listen to Audible together, because I'm pretty sure people would get tired of the sound of my voice if I were the one reading every week.
You kind of a nice, relaxing voice, though, so I'm not sure. I think, but okay. So you listen to Audible, and then you guys discuss it afterwards.
Yeah, we just pause at different sections and discuss. Yeah, like a little kind of like round table style, just really casual. If you want to just come and listen, you come and listen. If you want to chat, you chat with voice or type if you can't come off mute and stuff like that. And it's a really lovely group of people. So yeah, I feel quite lucky.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because the biggest pain point I feel like is for me for book club is always like trying to find that time to actually read between the sessions. So I love that you have that solution for that.
Yeah, it was a learning curve. The very first couple of books, we did it in that traditional style. It wasn't working, everybody kind of like fell off and didn't get to the end and then waited for the new book to come around. So just thought, let's try this out. So far, so good.
Nice. You're doing user research and solutions in your book club and for your
yeah.
book club, and everyone's doing it together. It's a lot. There's a lot happening. That's amazing.
Once a UXer, always a UXer.
Yeah.
In like every part of life, I think. So
Yeah, definitely.
a habit that you can't help. So yeah, I mean, we've got really great comments, calendar reminders because of everyone being global, just being able to translate the time of the call into where they're based, having commenting, so they want to have like a conversation thread perhaps as well, on the books, maybe similar to how we do in Discord. So maybe we'll try and see if there's some sort of way of integrating that. Another book clubber mentioned having some sort of timer maybe that gives everybody an equal time to speak. But everyone's pretty good at being very polite and not talking over one another. So I think we're pretty good with that, and that might be tricky, but I think it's an interesting idea. And then a couple more around gamification and having a mascot. And they mentioned doing something like Duolingo does. You know, they have that super cute little green owl that's like, hey, well done, you know, come back today and keep your, you know, streak going. Don't miss a class and things like that. So using that as a way of just prompting folks, encouraging everybody to stay on track with the group and with the reading, maybe giving like badges or something like that as a reward, you know. So if you've joined 5 calls, then you get the bookworm badge, or you know, something like that. Not sure, but that's what we're going to be working out pretty much. And if anybody has ideas in the chat, I'd love to know what you think.
Yeah, please feel free to share your ideas. I'm excited to see what you do with all these great ideas.
Yeah, I think it can really go in any direction. So, I mean, what I've done is just kind of put all of these on little stickies. And surprise, surprise, I've used a plugin for that. So there's one called Whiteboard, and it has loads of like great templates for flowcharts and things like that. If you're doing user flow, you know, highly recommend using this. But then they have these little elements that you can drag and drop. So I just use their little post-it, and it's really simple. If you look at the layers, it's just a couple of rectangles and a text box, just grouped nicely together. And then I use the repeat grid to just make a whole artboard of them and throw in some of the comments with space for more ideas if we come up with anything. So yeah, kind of going to start with what screens I think we're going to need. So probably going to be some sort of home screen. And I'm just going to type them out a little bit like app mappy, sitemap style, pretty much. We've mentioned having maybe like a library. Let's call it library collection. We'd have summaries. What else? Maybe some commenting or links back to Discord. And we can work that out. Live typing is not my strength.
Same.
So yeah, I'm just kind of thinking of how we could sort of incorporate all of this and how it's all going to connect really, so that it's not a disjointed experience. You know, I want it to feel very, very connected and kind of harmonious, if that's the right word, maybe.
How do you ensure? Oh, sorry. How do you ensure that it feels harmonious in the app? What's your process there?
So for that, it's a combination of things, I think, of making sure that the UI isn't too jarring between different screens. So keeping everything in a kind of consistent style, and then, you know, also when you're applying like the branding and the visual styling to that, making sure that, the buttons are always a certain color or certain shape or certain size, making it so that when the user's flowing through a particular journey or trying to carry out a specific task, that it just feels quite smooth and effortless. It's not sort of getting them to click or tap or interact with multiple things to get to where they want to. Jumping them between lots of screens, that could be really jarring, or having lots of kind of pop-ups or overlays and things like that can be quite, just really throw people off.
Yeah, those are good ideas to think about.
And what else did we mention? Recordings.
What made you think about creating a book club app? Was this also an idea that came from the group, or was it a thought you had, or where did that initial idea come from?
It's something I thought about at some point last year. I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could have an app? Because it was sort of mentioned in like our chat or on one of our calls. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I could actually make it using the secret no-code tool that we'll reveal tomorrow. So I did a little bit of a kind of test build, a kind of proof of concept for myself, just to also make sure that I knew how to use that the tool and how I could get some of the more technical things to integrate together. And it was really easy. And then a few more people mentioned it, and I was like, okay, I get it, I hear you. let's make an app.
Oh, so is this the first one you're doing?
Yeah, pretty much. Like the other one was a very straw man, just like I say, concept, whereas this is going to be the actual first thing that I'm going to launch on the app stores, which I'm really excited.
Wow, I feel like we're on a journey with you now.
Yeah.
Everyone now is obligated to download the app after this. You're all part of this now.
Right. Gotta give me some feedback. Give me some nice reviews in the app store.
Give some nice reviews. Yes, we're all here to support you. This is exciting. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I thought this is like, oh, I just do this all the time. Like we're seeing you get to do this all live together. So that's very exciting.
Going on the journey together.
So now you're listing out all the pages, all the screens you're going to be creating?
Yeah, I think all the screens that would make it a nice experience. So it's not just doing just one thing. I want it to have a couple of functionalities. I think the gamification is probably a trickier thing that I might have to look into the best way of doing that. It's, giving badges and things like that. That's going to take a little bit of research. I do think it's really interesting. But things like having a calendar integration, pretty sure I know how to do that already in terms of like technically building it. So I've kind of got that in the back of my mind as well, like what technical limitations am I aware of to kind of design within for the moment, like for the first release. And then as my knowledge grows, as the tool grows and has more functionality and capability, we can like grow the app and progress it on.
Yeah, that's, I think, the big difference between some of the other Adobe Lives is like when you're not actually building something, you could just put a lot more into it. But now we're like, well, what can we actually build as the first release, and how to we make this lean and decide what features are absolutely necessary, and also with the experience we have. So yeah, it's good to see that part of the process as well, which can be quite realistic. Also, would you mind just zooming into those, sure. Just so I can read it? Yeah. Okay, cool. I could read that.
Yeah.
Read that well.
And we can start to make it look a little bit more map-like and start to connect it up to see kind of what goes where. Really similar if you've done like website maps. App maps are basically the same thing, but for your apps. Oops. So we have, I think, these as our main sections here. So having like a home screen, and then in terms of navigation, maybe we've got something like the library, the recordings and their profile. Maybe the home screen can tell them when the next call is, and what chapter we're up to, and give them those kind of hints and tips so everyone can stay on track.
And how do you decide which are going to be the main categories here? How do you prioritize those?
I'm sort of doing it based on, like, mentally I've grouped together some of these kind of feature ideas that we're going to be considering. And some of them kind of group quite naturally. So things like having the library, having the tagging, summaries and recordings could be kind of similar. Reminders kind of goes with like calendar integration. Yeah, I've got a couple for reminders. Then these are all around sort of gamification, which could link into your profile, because that's very much to do with you as a member rather than to do with the club, like generally. Then we've got another one about notes. So I kind of mentally just started to group these and started to think, okay, well, what would make sense? You know, we don't want to have a menu that has a list of all of these things. How do we organize that and sort that to help the users find things more easily? So
got it.
Yeah.
So you start with all the features that everyone has given you from your book club and that you've thought of, and then you've grouped them into categories that make sense. And then based on those larger groups, you've now broke those down here in your app map with calendar, library, recordings, and profiles, those main categories that are the main screens for your app.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like sometimes it's hard for people to know, like, there's so many things I want to do. How do I prioritize? How do I put them together and create something from this, you know, because it could be overwhelming.
Yeah, 100%. It really can be. But I think it's okay, even if this is not the right answer. I think as we go through wireframing it, we might decide, you know what, this doesn't make sense here. Let's move it onto another screen. But just for like a first look, a first guess, a first kind of feeling, to me, this is what I think could feel right. And like I say, I'm probably going to put these calendar reminders and stuff in the home screen. So yeah, it's similar to if anyone's built or created their own website for a portfolio. You know, you've got that home screen that's about you. Maybe you've got some previews of your work, a little bit about your like resume and experience. But then when you click away from that, or you use the navigation, you know, you're going to go to things like your portfolio projects, and it's just that kind of hierarchy, really that we're looking at.
Yeah, that's a good tip. And it's also, good to remind people, it doesn't have to be perfect from the get-go. It's the initial map, initial compass.
Exactly.
And we can refine on the way. Everything's okay.
Yes. So I'm just going to add another artboard just to put this one on. I like to keep my things nice and organized. Just like that. Call it version 1, just in case. You never know. So yeah, this is what I've got a feeling for at the moment. Maybe there's something else around settings and things like that we could maybe add in with the profile. So settings for maybe live notifications of the club call starting, notifications of any of the gamification stuff that we might work out, hopefully, at some point. Yeah.
Fabulous. This looks nice.
I think we'll go with this for now. I think this is good. Unless anyone in chat has some ideas of anything that they think is missing or could be included. would
Not
love
as
to
of
know.
yet, but yeah, if anyone has ideas, feel free to put them in the chat. Things you would want to see in a UX book club app. It's hard to say, UX book club app. Um, if you see it, think of any features, you could see this actually launched. All right. So you might be able to see those ideas come out. So don't feel shy. Feel free to share. Don't be shy. Feel free to share. Everything I'm saying is tough to say. I don't know why.
You're getting all the tongue twisters.
I am. Do it to myself.
Oh. Right, let's get some iPhone artboards up. Let's start to give them names. So we've got, what else did we put down? Home, library, recordings, and team, name your layers for sure. Name your artboards, name everything. Get very lost otherwise. Alrighty, so maybe we'll have something. Well, let's turn on some grids. Let's have a look.
So you're using a shortcut for your grids.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I do a lot of shortcuts. I should turn on my little keyboard thingy. But if you do Command, Shift, and colon, you can turn on and off your colon, apostrophe, sorry. So automatic, I don't even know what buttons my fingers are pressing. So
nice.
Yeah, on a Mac. Just one of those things, once you get used to it, and if you're turning things on and off, using the shortcuts can be just quite a nice way of working.
Yeah, and then you can also access it right there as well on the right-hand side. Because it's like I know for me, when I first started, I'm like, shortcuts, I cannot, like, don't add that onto me on my list of things to learn. So yeah, shortcuts, or go the little bit of the longer way, whichever works for you.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong. It's whatever you feel, however you work. Just trying to think what kind of grid I might want.
How do you decide which one you want to work with?
So this one here, the layout grid, is kind of based on like Bootstrap, which is how things are kind of laid out with web design. So you'll notice on my artboard here on the left, that is the kind of desktop screen size. We have 12 columns, and that's a fairly standard grid. You have your columns and then your kind of gutter spacing in between, and you can do anything across. You can use this as just general spacing. But the really nice thing about it is that it's responsive across devices. So it's quite a nice handy dandy layout grid to be using. You'll see here for mobile, obviously you just have the 4 columns. Other grids you can use are the square grid. So it's like 8 pixel square grid, very standard when it comes to things like app design. Super hard to be staring at all day. I have to say that I cannot. I do things quite rough and then, kind of adjust it a little bit afterwards. Because it's quite hard to look at. And even if you change the color a little bit, it's doesn't really help make it any better. So I kind of go with layout to start with, and then for any finessing, might switch to a square grid.
Nice. Okay, great. Thanks for sharing.
No worries. I think we might have some sort of welcome image-esque message, something. I'm just going to kind of, with blocks, just kind of get a rough idea of content-wise, like what I want to put where. Maybe we'll have a nav bar rather than a burger menu or something, so folks can quickly just tap across to what they want. It also stops them stretching the finger up to like the top of the screen, which can, depending on how big your phone is, if you've got one of those super large iPhones in small hands, it's going to be a bit of a stretch. It's just kind of roughly putting things down.
So at this point, you're not worrying about it being like perfect. You're kind of just doing a general layout, it seems.
Yes, exactly. So just,
Nice.
not knowing exactly what content I want. I'm doing this literally live. There's nothing that's happened in the background. There's no reverse engineering or anything that I'm doing. So just kind of working it out as we go and seeing what kind of feels right, what makes sense in terms of what info we're putting on all the different screens. And yeah, just being really rough, really loose with whatever I create right now, because this is like, this is almost like if I was sketching on paper. That's the stage that we're at. And then we'll tweak it and edit it as we continue.
Is this typically your process with going to wireframes? Because you mentioned paper. Do you use paper sometimes, or do you use this in lieu of paper design, paper sketching?
I do a bit of both. I love paper sketching just because of how quick and rough it can be, and you can get your ideas down just way quicker than I can doing them, neatly within any kind of software. So I just like the speed of getting something down sometimes, because sometimes the first ideas are bad ideas. You just need to get them down, get them out of the way, and move on, and that's okay. Whereas other times, like I'm doing now, just because I'm at my computer, comfortable, I might just jump in and start to wireframe something really roughly, especially in more of a work situation. Especially now with working remotely, I definitely do this a lot more digitally than I used to. I used to do a lot of sketchbook sketches, things on paper, things on whiteboards. But given everybody is remote and also global, I work with some global teams, that isn't always kind of the best way for us to work as a team. So,
so you're talking about like remotely collaborating with different team members. You'll use this tool, or a digital tool to like chat about what you want to see on the screen. Yeah. So it's kind of like your whiteboard in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And I really love that we can do this with XD. I can invite people to my document just by putting in their email addresses, and then they can come in here and see what's going on, and we can all kind of work on things together. And the fact that it's, cloud documents and auto saving, and, I love that. It's there. I'm not going to lose it like I would maybe potentially lose a piece of paper. I'm not going to accidentally rub it off of a whiteboard. Like maybe you could in person. But
yeah, there's definitely some pros to using this instead of whiteboard for sure.
Give myself a couple of prompts, but maybe we can have it open up with a little welcome and sort of this is what we're reading, this is where we're up to. And then maybe we can have some buttons for setting the reminder, adding it to the calendar or something, some stuff like that. What else? Let's think. Let's do our navigation a little bit as well. So we'll have about 4 icons. And I normally typically make my buttons at least 45 pixels high, because you've got to think of people's, we all have different size hands and fingers and everything. So we need to make sure we're giving everybody the right amount of like target space that they can press. That means they're not going to press the wrong thing. And we wanted about 4, so let's repeat grid this. 4 buttons, lovely. And let's play with the spacing a little bit. You see how quick that was just to get something down that we know is potentially a pattern with repeat grid. one of my all-time favorite features. Be our it's like a calendar button. You can find an icon for that later. Let's make that a bit smaller. And we can have, maybe somebody wants to get a copy of the book for themselves to catch up with. So we can maybe have like a shopping link. Oops. What do you typically prefer, Elizé? Do you like physical books that you can hold when you're reading, or do you like ebooks or audiobooks? Any kind of reading?
I think there's still something so nostalgic of a actual physical book that makes me feel comfy cozy when I've got that open on the couch. But I've got too many books I'm reading, so I can't buy physical books. So I definitely have a Kindle and use that for majority of the time. Because, you can like be in the bathtub and bust it open. You can be in your car waiting and for someone to come into the car and you can like start reading a little bit. So I feel like it's just does make reading more accessible and easy.
That's nice. Yeah, I'm definitely with you on the reading too many books at once thing. Have the UX book, have, fantasy novels, all kinds of things on the go. I feel like that's why I sometimes never finish.
Me too. I have like 6 to 8 books on rotation at a time, but I like rarely finish books. I'm like, oh, I got what I needed. No.
That was like selfishly somewhat my reasoning for creating the book club, because I was talking to a lot of designers, especially through social media, during the sort of lockdown period. And everyone's looking for recommendations of what to read and everything else. And I was like, you know what? There's so many books I want to read, even though I'm whatever decade into my career, there's always something new to learn and so much to read and keep up with. And I'm terrible at keeping up my reading. And folks were like, oh, what if we all read the book? We all do it together and have a little club. It's like, you know what? Let's try it. It's not just me who doesn't finish a book. It's nice to know.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you had it serve both yourself and your needs, and then similar, other people who, there's a lot of us out there who don't finish books and want to read more, but we don't. So I really love that you created this. For everyone or anybody who's just arrived in the last few minutes, we're about 38 minutes into today's session, and Fergie has a UX book club, and she's decided that she wants to create an app for the book club. And so she's designing that today, and tomorrow she's going to talk about how she's going to actually build this for her book club members. So if you're excited, you can be part of this book club. It is welcome to all. And obviously, you could download this once it's live and see it live in action and be part of this journey over the next few days with us today and tomorrow. So that's what's up right now. That's what's up.
Mm-hmm. Exciting stuff. So we've got a little bit of a library. I'm trying to think what other information people might want to have other than title and an author.
So the library, is this all the books that you guys have read or are currently reading, or
I think this needs to be defined. I think so. What we do have is we have one of our Discord channels for folks recommending books or submitting books that they would like the club to read. Oh, you know what? That's something we can put in the app. Oh, look at that. Submit some ideas. How could I not even think of that one? Let's add that to our app. Submit. All kinds of wrong spelling going on there, I'm sure. Never mind. Spell check's got me. I know XD has spell check somewhere.
Yeah, it's fine. Actually, I think that's right.
Hopefully. I was like, is it 2 M's, 2 N's, 2 how many? And then I'll just budge all of this over a little bit. Yeah.
Lee has mentioned that they would like to see a similar to this book feature. So that's another feature idea.
Let's put this down here. You may also like.
And they've also recommended to, in the screen that you were just designing, to have the year published, because that's important to them, because some things can be out of date. They don't want to be reading a book from, 1974 on how to do information architecture. I don't know.
Yes.
Is there a book like that old? I don't know, but
published, yeah.
Thanks for that idea.
That's a great idea. Oh, I think I need to go and swipe up and swipe down for my repeat grid to pick up on that. Let's see. There we go. It has the same text. That's nice. I like that. That's pretty cool. It's a good idea. Then maybe we can, if they go and select one of our books, maybe we can put title here. We can then put an author, and then, yeah. Could have a little blurb. I quite like what they've just mentioned, like how in or out of date a book might be. So maybe using the blurb from the back of the book that you normally look at to get an idea of what it's going to cover. Can go. Oh, goes. And just won't be too bold. Let's just make this a little more sensible. That's quite nice. And then recommended books. Maybe that could look similar to that list there. And just have a few. Maybe that could be a vertical carousel. Ooh, let's design that over here. Let's do this grid the other way around. We have like 4 similar books. And if that goes somewhere at the bottom of the screen, we can turn on our horizontal scroll group. Change this spacing so they get a little peek. There's something else there. I like that. That was a nice recommendation. Oh.
Thanks, Lee.
Yeah. Wait, is this book club, Lee? Lee, is that you?
It might be Lee McGinnis.
Yeah, that's book club, Lee.
Book club, Lee.
So like that. Lee from book club. Yay. Hey, Lee.
They're representing.
I think something like that might work out. Like a little about a recommendation. It's quite nice. Then recordings might be fairly similar layout wise. So I want to kind of copy the pattern so that it feels familiar. Recordings or replay. I don't know what to call it yet.
So is this a replay of your guys' whole past meeting or session?
Yeah, past sessions. Okay. So past sessions are typically like an hour a week. And we just record it because folks are sort of missing out and wanting to catch up. And this was just a nice way of doing it so they could not only kind of hear and like read, like listen to the book, but also be involved in the conversation that we had. And then typically kind of put their own thoughts and comments into one of our chat channels.
Oh yeah, that's great. And for the library, are you reading one book at a time? Like, would you know? I guess that's what I would wonder if I was a new book club member. Like, which one are you guys? Oh, okay. Never mind. That's the home screen. You're currently reading that book.
Mm.
The library is all the books you've read in the past. And the recordings is also where all the recordings live from the past as well. Is that right?
I think you've definitely tapped on something I've not thought of yet in terms of what the library is exactly. So
Okay.
for that being past reads, I think that could be quite interesting. So maybe there's something, a screen up before this where it's, do you want to look at past books that we've read, or do you want to look at books that are on our list, like to read, to get to? Do you want to vote, like vote on which one is next, kind of thing?
Yeah, because there's because now I'm getting all into the book club. I've got all these ideas for the something I would want to have as someone who's new might be like, oh, I loved that previous book they read. I wanted to read that, but I missed that opportunity. So I would kind of click from that book that you read, and then I would be able to also see the past recordings related to that book, so I can listen and go through them like in my car or what have you. That's one of the flows that comes to mind when you're showing it to me. Put it in the features. Put it in the features.
It's going on a sticky note.
It's going on a sticky.
It's on a sticky. It's going to happen. Library of submitted recommendations.
Yeah, if anyone's watching, you guys have an opportunity to also share ideas that come up for you as you're watching. This is a safe space to share, so feel free.
Yeah, I think the library can be interesting. I'm trying to think of what would make more sense for the library to be, whether it's past reads like that we finished, or a library of what could be coming next. I have to think on that for a little bit. That's a good one. So this is why I go through this kind of process to kind of get it all out and work out structurally how it's going to work together, and what makes sense. If I'm a user and I want to know exactly, like you said, what was read before you joined the club, what makes sense for finding out that information.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. What's been read in the past, what are you going to be reading in the future, what are you currently reading? Yeah, so lots of things to consider there.
I think profile screens are kind of typical. There's nothing too special that I think we need to do here. I'm not sure. This will fit in great for the gamification, I think.
Paul made a comment around maybe a filter option could be good for the library. So you could do past, current, future.
We like this. Plus filters. Nice. And I know how to build that, so we can do that.
Yeah, I also was like thinking about toggle, but maybe that would be too much if there was 3 options. So if it's more than 2, yeah, maybe filter, drop down.
Yeah, that's a good point. How many things are we going to filter between? All of the things to consider. It's not just about what are the what are the screens looking like. It's like, what are the actual functionality?
This is the UX. we're in it. UX talking about UX with UXers. We're a book club for UXers. That's all.
Seems very meta.
It's all very meta. Yeah, it's all intertwined.
Yes. Badges, and I think that could be kind of nice. Have some little badges. Gonna have to see if anyone's an illustrator. We'll go and find some cool stuff on stock or somewhere to work out what this might be like. Actually, that could be a scroll group maybe, or a grid.
I've never
We could
like
have,
been super into badges until recently with the Kindle. I don't know if it's a badge, but they will tell me my streaks. And I've been like super into it. Like, oh, I can't miss my streak this month. Like,
that's cool.
so
I didn't know that.
yeah, I'm starting to like get into them now. I'm like, oh, badges, streaks, and stuff like that. It is really rewarding, you know, especially when it's something you aren't typically doing, like not keeping up with your book reading, and you have been doing it, and you're like, oh, a little pat on the back from the app. Thank you.
Nice. I love that with Duolingo. I used to be quite fluent in some languages when I was a student, and just having stayed in London and not used them as much, I've kind of like lost some of my know-how. And I'm kind of using Duolingo again to just pick up and see like how much do I actually remember? How you know, how dusty is my Spanish, or how bad is my French now?
So
I
you
like
speak those three:
I
French,
used German
Spanish,
as well.
English. Oh, and German.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And German.
okay.
Yeah. I learned a lot of languages in school.
Wow. Those are actually those three languages are the languages my husband knows. So Spanish, French, and English. And so it's really handy when we go to Europe or we go to Mexico.
Oh, nice.
I'm like, okay, great. You're my good travel companion.
That's so good. It's such a good combination that, yeah, I feel could definitely work in so many places. Spanish especially can work. I love how that can work in multiple destinations.
Good for you. So does Duolingo really help actually with the refresher courses?
So, I mean, I've been doing it for just over a week. Got my like 9-day sprint or 9-day
badge.
What they call it? Yeah, like 9-day badge. Like, yeah, keep going. And I'm like, okay, little green owl, I'm gonna do it.
That's working. The badges.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's working. You know, you earn badges for the different levels and the difficulty of things that you're going through. You know, conjugating all your different verbs and everything, which some of them I'm like, oh, the complex ones, I'm like, wait, I know it's complex, but I don't remember how complex. Small things like that. I find it really helpful to help you pick it back up again.
That's cool. I've never tried it, but I have heard the gamification is really spot on there. So I should just try it out for funsies.
Yes, definitely. Edit this one. So, recording date, chapters covered, and playtime. Playtime? No, that doesn't sound right. Length. Runtime. What do we call that? Like how long a track is?
I guess I don't know. Time.
It's just complicating everything.
Someone give us the better name for that, please, in the chat. Running time. I guess that running time is good. Like that's used for movies, right? So it's like running time.
Yeah, that could work. So that folks know how long something is before they hit play, so they can work out if they've got time to squeeze it in. That again can be our repeat grid. Love a repeat grid. Image. Do we want an image for that? That could get a bit repetitive if it's the same book cover.
Oh, we got the word. Paul put length.
Just length. There you go.
Length.
It's always the small words you forget.
Yeah. I am not a copy person, I'll tell you. Oh goodness. So hard. Trying to find like the right word. Yeah, me too. And someone put so much thought into the few words there. And I'm like, yes, I'm so grateful for people who love to do that. So I'm like, I can't. Like go into the thesaurus. I'm like, oh, I'm overwhelmed.
Summaries. Yeah, that's where that's going to be different as well. So this could be for an unread book. And then we could do something a little different for a book that has been previously read.
So if something's unread, you might know when it will come into, or is it just like a suggestion from people, or do you guys know when that rotation's going to happen?
We try and predict when a rotation is going to happen based on the length of the audiobooks, and we know that we spend an hour together a week and have conversations. So it's not like we listen to a full hour every week. So we try and have a guesstimate, but then based on kind of votes, we'll see what might be coming up next. So that's actually something we could also add on the screen is voting. So maybe we can have a little voting panel. Dun, dun, dun.
For anyone who might be just joining us in the last few minutes, we are about 1 hour into today's session. Fergie is designing a UX club app. It's a real UX club if you'd like to join. And now she's designing just the basic features and functionality. So if you feel inspired or want to give some feedback or give some suggestions, please feel free to do that in the chat. And then tomorrow she's going to be implementing this and talking about how she's going to actually build this app. So we are on the journey with Fergie and her book club members and her future book club members. That might be you as well. So about that.
Yeah.
I feel like you're going to get a lot of people who want to join now after this.
Oh, feel free. More the merrier, honestly. It's a great space. We all have, different backgrounds, different experience levels. There's folks in the club who have been UXers for some time. There's folks who are new and more junior or students, which was what makes the conversation really interesting for all of us.
Definitely. So what a great way to meet more people in the community and all different types of people. Because even, senior level, they want to read a lot of these books as well. There's always so much to learn. So yeah, I love that.
Have a little vote panel, something like that. Let's extend our artboard. Move our navigation off for a minute. What makes more sense? I think this order, perhaps. You know what? Let's use some stacks. We've got all the tricks here in XD. I'm going to group those together, and I'm going to turn on my vertical stack so that my spacing's not too wonky. Let's go with 30. Pick that down.
So you're using
sorry, I'm doing
stacks.
My keyboard things.
Yeah, that's okay. So you're using stacks to kind of have even distribution between all the elements. Is that your main thing you're using it for? Yeah,
exactly. And then if I decide, if we decide we want to move something around, so actually these recommendations should go above. It just is a really nice way of kind of moving your content around without having to nudge everything. XD kind of nudges it all for you, which is just speeds everything up. And then if you see me kind of getting ruler measurements, it's because I'm holding down the Option key on my keyboard. So whatever I have selected, like this whole group here, if I then hold down my Option key, it tells me I've got 30 pixels space from the top, 18 from the sides. If I select my little image placeholder here, obviously I know that's 30 from the stack, but if I wanted to know the distance on the sides, you can see it's 114. So that's a really handy. This is probably the thing I use most, my most used keyboard.
Yeah,
keyboard shortcut.
For me, same. Yeah. Yeah, and that was great. You explained it. You said you put everything in a group and then you turned on stacks over there on the right-hand side to get that feature up and popping.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
See, so that's an unread book. Let's go to read book next. So here we'll have the blurb. Let's do another stack. Group all of these, just Command G. Actually, maybe I can turn on my little, does it fly? Oh no. My little keyboard shortcuts, see if that comes up. This way you can all see what I'm going to be pressing.
Ooh, this is a cool little feature.
Yeah. See, that should be good. General, switched on. No, why not? I'll work that one out for tomorrow. Then basically you'll be able to, we'll see. It should just turn on, but
so everyone can see the keyboards that the keyboard shortcuts you're using.
Yeah.
The visuals of it. Oh, very cool, very cool.
Mm-hmm. And then with the ruler, you'll see what I just did there is I kind of nudged what I have selected because I'm holding down the Option key. But then if you also hit Shift and then use your arrows, you can move things around by 10 pixel increments, which is quite nice.
Yeah, very nice.
And without Shift, you can just do it 1 pixel at a time. But I tend to work in those kind of 5 and 10 increments mostly when like at this kind of stage before I get to any kind of 8 pixel grid. Something like that. We also need to copy this, and then if we paste it, what did that do? Move this out of the way for a second. This is our stack. Oh, I didn't turn on the stack yet, that's why. So turn on our stack, a little bit spacing. I'm gonna copy the blurb here. Where are they grouped together? Let's ungroup that. There we go. So I can copy this and then I can always paste another one in. And this can be maybe our club summary. Maybe we have a rating. We could do like a star rating. That would be cool. Let's use a polygon. Drop something out. Let's put this one in. We probably don't need that much space. And then let's change the number of corners and points that we have. Let's zoom in. And now we have a funky star.
So you changed it to how many size? What does that say? 6?
6, yeah.
6. And then you brought in.
And then I just brought in, don't know the name of it, but you get these 2 little handles, these 2 little dots. So this is your corner radius. So do you want them to be spiky or round? So do you get a badge or do you get a star? And then you have this other little dot, which is kind of how deep or how sharp you want those points to be. So, you know, something like that's less star-like, more star-like. And you can have as many points as you want.
Ooh. Oh, there's the typical star. So it's, is that still, what did you change there? Oh, that's 5. Okay.
Yeah, just the number of points. So you can just select that field there and use your up and down arrows, or you can type in whatever you might want to have.
How to make a star.
Or if we wanted to use a heart, we could also use the same polygon tool, draw a triangle. And this is one of my favorites. Instead of the number of points, if you put in a triangle bracket and the number 3 and hit enter, you get a perfect little heart.
Heart and stars, how to make heart and stars in XD. How cute.
So it saves you kind of going around and looking for your icon if you want to do just something really quickly. But if you wanted to use an icon at this point, plenty of plugins for this type of stuff. You can use like icons for design, and you can search for heart, star, whatever it is you might like, and you'll see that you get them from the different design systems. So what it looks like with Metro, which is the Windows design system, the iOS design system, Font Awesome is also included. So you can do all sorts that you can get from here. There's what else? There's icons, there's Icon Scout. There's loads. You can hit this little plus button up here. That brings up your Creative Cloud window for your plugins. Make sure XD is selected, and you can search for anything. So we search for icons, hit enter. And these are all the kind of icon related plugins. So many.
Very nice. Yeah, so many.
Yeah. Just in case anyone's looking for how to get the cool stuff. All right, let's make this repeat grid because we love repeat grid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star rating. Who knows, maybe we'll change it to something else, but let's use stars for now. So we can give it a rating. We can put the little summary in. It would be nice to have recommendations here, maybe. Not quite decided. But we'll keep it for now. I kind of want our nav bar to stay, so we can select fixed position when scrolling. And that means that if we hit our little play button here for the preview, that because we've extended our artboard, we scroll around, our little nav bar is always at the bottom.
Very nice. Yeah, it's behind there. Okay. Just gonna move this half off so I can still see what's going on. Feels like a lot of space. That's better. So Lee has another great idea, which is for passbooks. It would be really cool to read an insight from a book club member in the blurb.
Ooh, I like that. Let's add that in.
Kind of reminds me of Amazon. I don't know if have you been to an Amazon bookstore?
Yeah, like when they just have the sort of reviews at the end, right? So
in the bookstore, they have like just a printout of one review that really kind of encompasses what that's about from a actual reader, and then it's just like there for the book. And I was like, oh, that's a cute idea. Kind of brings me back to that.
That's nice. I like that. Let's see how we can do something along these lines. Let's give it a bit of character as well. So I'm going to attempt to draw a little speech bubble. What do we want? A triangle, maybe? A little bit. No, I wouldn't always do this kind of detail, but you know, since I've got the idea, I'll go with it. And then just combine.
You're just combining those.
Yeah. Rather than draw from scratch, let's use the tricks.
Combining the two shapes and making them into one shape.
Nice. We can make this a nice text box and see what kind of spacing we've got going on. 13 and 9. Okay. So we can say that's our little members review. Now what I can do is I can cut this and go into our stack, and underneath the blurb, potentially, I can paste that in. And then as you see, it just bumps everything else down one. I think that could be a good order. Kind of goes nicely with the rating as well underneath. Spacing's gone a bit fun. Okay. Yeah, something like that maybe.
I love it. I feel like it's great if someone's new as well and they get to know members through their recommendations a bit too. It's kind of like, oh, there's real people here. What do I have to say?
That's nice, actually. Hadn't thought of that. What else do we have? Library, we've kind of done. Summaries, comments, commenting. I feel like things like commenting can get out of hand very quickly. But I do like the member kind of comment or member review. So maybe, thinking that maybe members can submit a review for review. Oh gosh, it's getting meta again. So they can submit their review. We can check it to make sure it's okay and PC and nothing rude. And then almost have like a little kind of section of comments of what people think or have thought about a book. Maybe we can think about that.
I think this is also kind of nice just to have the one review and makes it less complicated, but still gives the sentiment. It's like a nod to it.
Yeah, so I quite like the one. I think it's quite nice. Submitting recommendations. So we're going to need a form-based screen. Maybe that's something we want to get to from the navigation.
So what's this next screen you're creating?
If people want to submit a book recommendation.
Oh.
And then it could show up in the library.
Oh.
Recommendations. Just remove. So this, we keep one text because I need one anyway. And we could say something like, is there a book you'd like to recommend? Oh, this word, just keep tripping up over it. Looks so strange to me. For the love to read. To vote on.
Is this the current process that you guys have for your book club? Like someone recommends it and you guys vote on it? Or is this something new you want to implement?
Yeah, we sort of do it this way. We have a channel in our Discord that is book recommendations, and that can be general recommendations or things we want to read actually as a group if enough people are interested to read it. It's less of a me saying what all of the books are in, and it's, you know, it's for everybody to be engaged and involved. So we try and keep it, you know, like to group decisions. So folks recommend a book, and then when we finished a book and it's time to go on to the next one, we can have a quick vote. And then, yeah, that's pretty much how we know what books we're going to be reading.
Okay, nice.
So we can have a title, probably author. What do they think the topic is? Maybe why they'd like to. Can I word that question? Why are you recommending this?
Do you feel like you get a lot of people who recommend books, or is it hard to get people to recommend books?
I think we definitely have a bit of a mix. So there's definitely folks that are trying to keep their finger on the pulse in terms of learning and education in the space. We all I think everyone follows lots of people on our socials and online. So maybe it's recommended from somebody else we're following, or maybe it's something we've heard of from a colleague or from a course or anything that some of us might have been on. So we sort of can hear about books, I think, quite often, quite easily. So it's quite nice to just have a place where this list lives and we don't forget. My solution to this previously has been purchasing the book and filling my bookcase, which is to the right of me just here off camera. And I'm like, wow, this is one full bookcase and I've not read half of it. So I need to stop doing that.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's always like you see a list or on, TikTok or Instagram or something like 7 books you need to read as a blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, oh, I need to find all these books right now. And then you just have all these books and you don't know what to do with it. So I do think, it's great to like have a place for them, have a voting system and know what you're how to prioritize all these different types of books.
Yeah, definitely. My way is not the way. My way was just killing too many trees, I think. So try to be more eco-conscious of my reading.
So you mentioned also some other books that you like to read, some fantasy. What else? What are the other books you like to read, or what type of fantasy?
So I'm just getting into the Sarah James Maas. Maas. I'm probably pronouncing it all wrong. Just starting that because a number of friends have recommended it and loved it and read like the whole kind of series. Series? Say series, those books collection. Yeah. They've read the whole thing, and I'm like, okay, but because I know I'm not the best in terms of like sitting down and reading a book or spending time. I'm not a fast reader or anything. Like a few of my friends are. I've decided to go down the audiobook route because I've found that is a really good way for me to kind of consume and like listen to something whilst I'm maybe tidying up or doing the dishes or vacuuming or taking a walk, sitting in the park, all that good stuff. I feel like it fits into my lifestyle a lot better than sitting and reading a physical book does. Carrying it around as well, having it all on my phone is just very handy, very useful.
Yeah, I read, I think, the first 2 books of that series. I'm also like a fan. I love fantasy. I love romance books. I love romance and fantasy, romance and sci-fi together. I even have this like tattoo on my wrist, Bella, from like when Twilight first came out, when I was like 18 or 19. I got this tattoo. I was like so into it. But if anyone in the chat too wants to let us know what book genres you love, it's kind of fun to like think about all the different types of books and that we like to consume and how much time we should be spending or want to be spending on the different types of books we read. Because I have like self-help books, business books, there's design books. So it's always like, how much time should I read on it? And but which ones should I focus on? Is it for pleasure? Is it for education? I feel like sometimes it gets like, you need the balance of all of it.
100%. It's a lot of balance as well. You don't want to just read for work. You want to read for pleasure as well. So yeah,
you have to let us know what is one of your top 1 or 2 UX books that you guys have read thus far.
I think definitely a favorite, and when we read it with the club, it was my 2nd or 3rd time of reading it in like the past however many years, was Change by Design by Tim Brown. Such a good book. I love his style that he's written the book in, because it's very much a kind of teaching you a little bit of the theory, and each chapter is like a part of the design process, but he shares some of his real life experience stories throughout the book. So it makes it really memorable. And then you're able to recall those stories as examples as well. Like, and there's nothing to stop you using those examples because, he refers to when he worked with, really big known names in the US and the likes of IDEO and places like that. There's nothing to stop us as designers also referencing that. When we're making recommendations, it doesn't only have to be about our personal and lived experiences. It can be based on learnings and other stories that we've heard, which I think not everybody thinks about.
Oh heck
but
yeah,
loved that book.
Oh yes, I feel like that's a great one, especially for people who don't have that much experience that they can call back on to a new client or to someone they work with, and they can like point to different past experiences from someone else that could be really helpful. So that's a great one. Change by design. Oh, Claudia already got it on the list. All right. See, people are gonna be excited. People like be excited and join the book club. Maybe listen to those past recordings for that book. We also got some of the genres that other people like. Claudia likes to consume fantasy, sci-fi, and in the fall horror. What's in the fall horror? Let me know what that is. We also have Lee, who loves fantasy. Okay, there's a theme here. Maybe UXers like fantasy. Maybe that's like another feature later on, is like for fun booksies that you guys share as well, if there's also some side genres. Wheel of Time. Cool. Have you guys, I watched the show Wheel of Time. I haven't read the books.
I think I know that one.
Do you know it?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, see, here we go.
Oh, I'm going to have to start taking notes. Where are my Post-it notes?
Luckily, this is all recorded.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cody likes to have fiction and education going on at the same time. That's a good point. Maybe it's a nice balance to have both at the same time. So I think, Claudia says it's seasonally reading horror. Okay, that makes sense. Like when it's fall and gloomy. Oh yes, when it's rainy, gloomy, you got your fall like horror. Maybe it's a romance horror for me. I don't know if that's a thing, but I like that idea. Cozy book.
That's cool. I've not heard of that either. Learning all the things. I love it. Okay. Just thought we could add, like, from one of the suggestions, we could add some, that's way too much. Add some tags as well, so people might know before clicking into the book. Maybe we could do some kind of color coding system. Oh, that would be fun. Note to self, where are my stickies? Quick. Gotta put it down, I will forget. I think this might be the majority of screens we need for the moment. Nice. Yeah, so you know that nothing is perfect, nothing is beautiful. It's all super rough. And don't be scared of things looking like this. I think it's so easy to get caught up in things being perfect when we're working digitally. Even the way I'm like nudging around spacing and things, it's on paper you wouldn't do it. You would just sketch without a ruler very freely. Probably we need a recording screen actually.
Yeah, it's nice that we are able to kind of work through things like we would as we're sketching with people in the chat and between you and I, and we're able to understand like the basic structure together of how everything works and what's all happening here and the purpose for everything as well. So I think that's great that you're able to kind of get a majority of it done here. What you working on now?
I just thought if we're going to have recordings, then when they click on this, then they need to have the screen to play the recording. So just doing a quick like audio playback. And for this, I'm going to use some icons because that's way quicker than me trying to draw something. So let's go with play button, which can change to be pause when we need it. Then we might want like rewind. Dun, dun, dun. Fast forward. And probably a stop. First. Like same style. Which is quite nice that using plugins like this, you know, kind of have consistency already built in with them. Stop. Just roughly space those out. Oops. Down to them. And then maybe we have a, what did we call it? Length. We have a like ticker for the length. So if we put the controls, move those down, you can say how much has been played. So they're at 0, like the play position, or however that's called. I'm sure somebody else knows better than I do. Out of, maybe it's a 1 hour call, so out of 01, 15, something like that. Maybe we could have a progressy bar type thing. Let's go to another plugin for that because Lottie is going to show that way better than I am. So let's search for a progress bar. And this just saves me kind of creating one for now. Put one in as a sample, just to conceptually get it across. So
what is Lottie?
So Lottie is an animated GIF, and it's basically a new file format for these kind of animated GIFs. That means that the size of them is really small, and also it's created with JSON code. So it's just a very kind of web and app friendly way of using these animations. And Lottie files, or lottie.com, you know, has loads of things kind of like open source, I guess you could say, that you're sort of free to use, or you can create your own. There's a plugin for After Effects called the Lottie one, and then there's one called Body Moving. So if you wanted to create this yourself as a kind of basic animation that loops around, you could do it that way. But to save me kind of creating this with shapes and mocking it up with auto animate, which we could definitely do, this is just something that is quicker, a little bit sleeker, saves me a lot of time because we're literally just kind of drag and dropping it in. And then you'll see if we go into the preview mode, you can see that that plays the animation for us.
Very cute.
Yeah, we have controls with these as well. So in our little inspector panel, you can say whether you want it to loop by pressing this little icon button, whether you want it to play automatically when it's tapped, or if you actually just are using it there as a placeholder and you don't want it to animate or play back at all. So we could have it, so, you know, on tap and almost like prototype smoke and mirrors the interaction of tapping the play button, then it kind of starts to play. You know, we could do something like that when we get to prototyping. Yeah, it's just that visual that lets people know what's going on.
Very nice. A quick way to start bringing animations into your design and kind of feeling very accomplished without having to make any animations. So that's
exactly.
That's always the best.
Yeah, bring it to life really quickly. Yeah, and they were actually created by Airbnb.
Oh,
They were the people that came up with it.
Good to know.
Fun fact.
That is a fun fact. I did not know that. And so are you finished with all the wireframes, or there's more that you're doing?
So I'm just double checking sort of what did we put in the app map to start with? You know, have we kind of covered all of this? I don't really want to make a settings screen. I can do that, you know, later on. I feel like that's a very boring screen to do. And it depends on how technically I get the app to function, whether, you know, people have login accounts and things like that. So this is something that I can like, it's boring, so we won't do that live. You know, just setting pages are quite standard, I find. So we want to keep it interesting on here. Do the fun things. So I'm going to check over the features. You know, I've kind of integrated, well, accounted for things like the tagging. Oh, we didn't build a filter yet. I could quickly design a filter functionality and a calendar reminder. There we go. But in terms of screens, I think we've got the number that we need for now. For like, you know, if we're thinking MVP, like minimum viable product, for me to launch to market, I think it's not a bad start.
Very good. Very good. And we've got like about 20, 25 minutes left of this stream. What are we going to see next now?
So I think, let's put my icon in a strange place. I think what I'll do next is just go through and start to finesse the wireframes a lot more. So these are very, very rough, you know, very kind of draft state. What I want to do is polish these up, pay more attention to some of the layout spacing, the kind of font styling. We can start to use our document asset, our library for some of that as well, which then makes applying branding and all of that lovely stuff tomorrow a lot easier. If anyone's not familiar with libraries, it's this little kind of book with a bookmark icon over here by your layers panel, and it turns it into your library panel. That's actually my personal brand one because I love using libraries, but this first one up here is called document assets. So that's everything related to this document. And you'll see from like my initial presentation screen that was over here, it's pulled in some of the colors because a lot of this was from my personal brand library, and it's made a copy of them here locally. But we can do things like adding in this style here that we've used sort of temporarily as like indicating a header. I can just go ahead and add this in as a character style by pressing this little plus button. And it tells me, you know, it's Acumen, it's 22 point. We can change that. We could call this heading. We can rename it to be more user-friendly for us. And now, because I know that I want to start finessing this a little bit more, I could actually edit this. So maybe I decide I don't want to use Acumen Pro. Maybe we want to use Open Sans. And maybe it's not going to be black. Maybe it's going to be purple. And you'll notice across all my artboards, every instance of that is now going to be purple. And I'm not having to change it for every single one. It's just going to help us, again, work smarter and not harder. So yeah, we can kind of start doing some of this good stuff.
Nice. Do you already have some idea of colors and stuff that you want to be using for it, or will that be from scratch?
I have a little bit of an idea. We do have a little bit of a logo already that we used for the book club. So we'll be bringing that in, and that's kind of has some purple tones. But in terms of branding on a whole, it's not something that I have. It's something I'm going to go and create this evening so that it's ready, ready to apply. But I'll basically come up with a couple of character styles for our headings, our body copy, like paragraphs, our tags, our any links, and then where we might want icons for our like navigation and some of the buttons that we've identified, I will look through the libraries and see which style we might want to borrow from. I'm not going to create these icons from scratch. I think there's, so many of them there. We can just borrow from there for now. So I'll go through some of the icon libraries or some of the plugins to identify which ones we might want to use and start to basically create a little book club brand library that we can start to apply.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, I'd love to know what is everybody's go-to font, or what everyone's favorite font when they're doing UI design.
Anyone have some favorite fonts? I like Sophia Pro.
That's a nice
one. I'm not a font person. Like I appreciate a nice font, but I'm not like, oh, I know all the fonts, and I have like the same 6 that I use kind of for everything. Do you have like some that you're kind of your go-tos?
So I don't know what reason, I love Century Gothic. It's just this really nice sort of rounded sans serif, which I love. When it comes to app design, I tend to stick to a lot of these very standard, similar looking sans serif fonts, just because of them being nice and easy to read on displays. But a fancy font that I like, that I actually learnt of from another live streamer, is Baggio. But
I don't know
it
that.
has these cool shapes.
Whoa.
So it has like a standard font, and then it has this really fun kind of like curly whirly version that I think just adds
very
really nice, like cheeky character kind of to it. I'm always tempted to use for everything.
I've not heard of that. And when you selected, I was like, oh wow, I would definitely remember this if I've seen it. So that's a fun one. We also have some recommendations. Poppins. I always love Poppins. Poppins is always nice. Poppins is a crowd favorite. Avenir from Lee also. That's another one of my faves. I guess there is some that like continue to regulate between people, and we're kind of all like the same few, huh? Roboto, Montserrat, Lato.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Lato. I haven't used that for a while.
Maybe it used to be my old font. It used to be my fave, but you know when you use it too long and then you're like, I don't know if I like it anymore. I can't stand it actually.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm like, I use it too much. I need some space to come back to it.
Yeah, I love the ones that have a really good collection of different weights. I really like that sort of the versatility, so that you can just stick to the one font and then use weights to distinguish between different elements. I love that. That's how to get me invested in a font. Have different weights.
Yeah, I feel like all the ones mentioned have a good number of weights options. So these are all good options that were recommended.
Yeah, used a few. We can think about that. Let's finish off this little filter button. How's this going to work? I think we could probably make this a component, actually. That would be fun. So let's borrow this. Filters. Do we want the word? Do we not? Let's do it without. Okay, let's put this inside of a button with some rounded corners. Center it all up. All right, we have a very rough and ready button here. Group those things together, and I'm going to hit plus and make a component. Or if you like keyboard shortcuts, Command K. And now we can put a new state. Tapped, pressed, call that whatever you like. And what we could do is, if I go back to my layers panel, we could start to manipulate what this would look like when it's pressed. So maybe we're going to expand this out, don't know, and start to list a few filters. So we have whether it is red, unread, put capitalization on this.
We also had a recommendation for Comet with a K. I don't know this one. Do you know it? Do you have it?
Comet.
Comet.
How do we spell it? Comet with a K?
Komet.
I do not.
Okay.
We'll have to go to Adobe Fonts and have a look for that later.
Yeah, we'll look at that one later. I haven't heard of it. I haven't played with that. So it's nice to have some new recommendations.
Comet. Oh no, don't put it in the component. Just put it there for later. All right, we can have some tags that we might filter by. Well, actually, let's do an actual example. So UX, UI, design process, strategy, teamwork, stakeholder management. All of the things we have to do. Research, testing, patterns, design systems. That'll do for now. Research. And we could bump up our spacing a little bit. Probably separate these out actually. So these are tags we can filter by. Read versus unread. And then you can draw a little checkbox box. Probably need more line spacing here. How big is this? 70. Okay, that's good. Maybe go down a tad. Something like that. Oh, you know what? Let's peek right in. Save ourselves some time and effort. Get it roughly lined up. Something like that. And then if we go to prototype mode, just for test purposes, default state, when we tap on this, it's going to auto animate to the tapped state. And then probably do something similar the other way around. Animate to default. So now if we preview that, have a little filters panel type thing. Not typically how they work, but gives us an idea. Maybe we'll make that an accordion or something.
Nice to see how quickly you can just make that animated and get a little button working.
Yeah, I can literally do things in seconds. It's one of the things I love about XD. It's so easy to work so quickly. That personally I can't work this fast in other tools. It's it's my superpower is XD.
Same.
Pretty sure that's everything. So yeah, I think checking time as well.
We've got about 9 minutes.
Okay, that's pretty good. We can just going to copy this styling here and then paste it here so they're the same. I quite like this. What was this? Later. Yeah. Maybe we'll go with that. And then really tempted. If Annika's here, she's going to laugh at me. So I learned about the Baggio font from Annika, and she knows how much I'm obsessed with it. And I'm really tempted to use it here just for a little bit of friendliness.
Yeah, I think she did say, "Is that Baggio?" And then she had a little smiley face. So there must be an inside joke around there.
Yeah. Let's put that on that as well. There we go. Something like that.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions too for Fergie, let us know. Go ahead and put your question in the chat. and we can answer it.
Mm-hmm. I am an open book.
Da-dunch. Oh, I love a good pun. I just love puns.
Yeah, feel free to ask anything you like, folks.
Maybe we can just like go through the different screens as well. If you can maybe play it or go through it, and just for anyone who hasn't seen.
So let's go into, oops, we can just preview and click through them. So how's that showing up? We've got our home screen. So we identified some features, kind of did a little bit of an app map to look at how many screens we might have in our app. We have our home screen, very, very rough, ready for tomorrow to do some extra work. We have our navigation, the book that we're currently reading, the chapter that we're on, a quick button to add a calendar reminder or a reminder to your own calendar, a button where you could potentially go and buy a copy of the book yourself. So maybe we can link it to Amazon or something like that. Then we have our library screen. So this is a list of books, and we're going to have a filter so that we can filter by whether these have been read by the club yet or they're waiting to be read. They're kind of on like a wish list or a recommended list, so to speak. We could filter by maybe some tags that we're adding to the books around the subject and topic. And if we click on one of these books, if it is unread, then we get these kind of details. So the about, the blurb, the image, put some tags in, and then a functionality to vote as to whether book club members want this to be the next book or not. If it's something they're interested in, because we just want to read what everyone's interested in. And then we also have a little horizontal scroll here for similar books, books that you might like if you like this one. If it is a book we've previously read in the club, then again, similar info about what the book was with our book club member review. So to humanize everything, make it more personal, a star rating. And then again, we can list some of the similar books to this one. We have our recording replays screen. So this is where if somebody has missed a club call, they could come back and re-listen to it so that they're not missing out on anything from the book and they're not missing out on the conversation. And again, it's just kind of a list that they could then select one that they want to go ahead and play and listen to. And we've also created a very rough kind of profile screen where we can put things like the member's profile photo, the name, when they joined, when they became a member, any badges they've earned, if we turn on some sort of gamification, which I will have to work out how to technically do that. That's going to stretch my skills, which is kind of exciting actually. We could potentially also add a list here of books they've read or books they've saved, like a wish list. So we could do something like that. So you can kind of create your own personal library of things you want to read, rather than having to like search through the library every time if you're looking for a new book that maybe you want to read outside of book club. Yeah, that's all the screens we've put together.
I love it. I'm loving everything and how it's like all now interworking and working together. I had a question actually now for the homepage. Now that you were sharing it again, I was like, I wonder if you are new and you came to this page and you see the current book that you're reading. What would that page, or are you able to go to that book page that of the one you're currently reading? And
yeah,
would you see past recordings and like, I guess, a portion of the past recordings?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. We could potentially there's another version of this screen, the unread and the completed of the sort of the in progress. And then we could also list all of them there. Let's do it.
Yeah. This is what you guys can do too when you are designing with a friend, a coworker, a group. You guys are co-designing and using XD as a kind of like a digital whiteboard, designing together, coming up with ideas. And it's a fun way of, kind of getting out of your own head and just being like designing by yourself and getting other people. And we could even actually be collaborating in the same XD file together. Like if she invited me into the file and we could both be designing in there as well. So it's a fun that you were able to show us kind of this process that you use, Fergie, with your team members and brainstorming and everything like that. So I love it. We're actually doing it in person now, or not in person. We're doing it live now. It's not in person. Nothing's in person anymore.
We wish. Yeah, that's great. Let's basically just use that same little kind of widget that we used for recommended books for recordings that we could slide through. So again, we're using a lot of repetitive patterns, like interaction patterns, so that the users can be really comfortable with how things are working. Fixed navigation bar here. I think that's pretty good. We'll have to do a bit more finessing.
Yeah, great. We also have some questions here. One is, which project are you most proud of that you've worked on?
That's a hard question. What am I most proud of? Oh, malfunctioning. I've worked on so many really, really different things, from personal projects to client things. I'd say one of my favorite projects that I worked on in 2020 was a kind of portal, online like web experience for carnival bands. So if anyone's familiar with the Caribbean culture, there's, carnival is a big part of culture, and you join a band and you get one of those amazing costumes with feather headdresses and beads and sparkles and everything. And I was actually part of a team that built a new portal for the bands to be able to serve their customers and sell the costumes. And that was something that I really loved, because it's something that hasn't really been done amazingly. The experience is very kind of standard across the board and not amazing. It's not terrible, but it's not amazing. And we sort of designed this, if anyone's familiar with paper dolls, where you used to change the top, change the trousers or skirt, change shoes,
yes.
kind of like carousel-esque.
Yes, I forgot about those.
We were sort of creating something like that, because it's a very customized order process. So we're kind of creating a very detailed, customized experience. And it's just something that I was really excited about and really enjoyed doing. That is live and has people using it, which is scary but also amazing.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for the question, Claudia. So we are kind of coming down to the end here. I'd love to know for kind of what we should expect for tomorrow. Maybe just a quick recap of today, quick recap. I cannot talk anymore. Recap, replay, recreate, recap, and then let us know what we should expect tomorrow, because I feel like I'm extra excited about tomorrow's session, what's going to happen there. So let us know what that would look like.
Yeah, so tomorrow what we'll do is we'll come in and really start to finesse these kind of rough draft wireframes into something a lot more complete. And then we can basically apply our branding and styling to it. So we can, start to put in a lot more of the character styles. We'll put in some imagery. We'll make it look and feel more like a real app. So we use a lot of visual styling with the UI, and we'll prototype it all together. And then, depending on how time goes, I might even be able to demo the amazing Secret Until Tomorrow no-code app that we're going to be building this with, because it plugs right into XD.
Yes, I think you've been keeping us in suspense. So that's what I'm hoping for. I can get a little taste of that tomorrow. I think we all are really excited about that. Thank you so much for really just walking through the process and involving us in the process today. It felt like a more collaborative experience, I think, and everyone got to share some ideas. I got to share some ideas. So I really appreciate that style that you brought in today. Um, for everyone, do not miss tomorrow's stream. We're going to be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for the part 2 with Fergie. We're going to see this come to life. We're going to get that secret tip as she continues to design this book club mobile app. Adobe Live will be back tomorrow morning with Andy Lambert and Jordan Ellis on the Adobe Express channel. Thank you again, Fergie. We had such a wonderful time with you, and we will
Thanks
be
for having me.
hanging out again tomorrow. We'll see you guys all there. Hang with us. Bye.